Okay, so talk a little bit about using some best practices for using technology with multilingual students today. Get this to advance. There we go. So we talk about multilanguaging. There's a growing mobility of students. Population worldwide has led to and continuing to lead significant change from a monolingual world to that of a multiple lingual world. I think we need to work together to utilize communication techniques and open the discussion between those different languages. I know personally from COIL, our students communicate and we tend to teach predominantly in English, but how do we get students to feel more comfortable? How do we get faculty to feel more comfortable? How do we get students to practice what they may have learned in high school and college more openly? Teaching in New York, especially on Long Island, we are a very globalized community. Our students are from all over the world and unfortunately do not necessarily feel comfortable using their native language in class. I think virtual exchanges is the perfect opportunity for students to feel more comfortable, to be able to express themselves, and to be able to open up with their cultures. So we're going to talk about some ways that we can do this. One of the things that I think is very good for students to start taking a look at is developing their digital literacy. And this can be done very simple through different assignments, whether it's in your regular classes or virtual exchange. How do you develop that digital literacy using language? How do you use language to develop more cultural awareness? So something just very quickly, I came up with a quick assignment prompt. So if you take a look at whatever your assignment happens to be in any class, have students make a 2 or 3 minute video telling the story of whatever it happens to be topic wise, posting a video or attaching a link or creating something that students are able to express themselves verbally. I think when students express themselves verbally, it takes a little bit more pressure off because students naturally have that tendency to speak and change what they're thinking and go back and have the ability, especially in a video, to change that video where they're recording it differently or they're going back and changing their ideas, having that flexibility. Whereas if they're doing it in a more text-based assignment, they're writing it out and they submit their assignment and they don't necessarily think back, okay, let me go back and change the languaging or change the verbiage. So posting a video is a great way. It's a little bit more organic, but the students were able to go back and have that flexibility. Making sure that they use captioning, being able to discuss and have those open exchanges. And I'll show you an example of what I used in my class. So again, just a quick little intro for something that'd be great for students with different technology and different languages. So some of the examples you could use, Google Voice. It's great. Students can do their presentation. They can have it transcribed into different languages. They're able to use transcription software where they can go back, learn a different language just for that, one little assignment, and then maybe try to speak it out to each other. World of Reference and Google Docs are great because, again, you're using that technology where students are able to communicate in multi-languages. I have my students post something where they post their little intro in a video and they go back and then they write out just a quick little response to their partners for virtual exchange using translation software. They go back, they have it translated, and then, unless they obviously know the language, and then they'll go back and read it right from the transcription. So it's a little bit more phonetic. They may not necessarily know the language, but being able to introduce yourself in another language to your partners in virtual exchange has a huge, huge impact because now you've taken that cultural divide and you've broken it down. I want to know about your culture. I want to know about your country. I want to know more about you. And I'm taking that first step. We also use Audacity, which is a very widely used and free online sound recorder and editor, which is nice because, again, students are able to post those quick little videos, make comments to one another, read something out if they don't know the language, and being able to have that cross language, very, very important. Another example of technology you could use, Fluent U, which is great. Duolingo, I love. And Memorize. Again, these are more using to learn language, which I think is important. everything tends to be very English centered, and we don't always want things that are English centered. We want students to have that flexibility. Oops, sorry, go back one. Okay, so very quickly, I'll just walk you through. Duolingo is great because you can actually bring it into your class. And I think what's nice about it is it's one of those softwares that very easy to use. You can build a class where students are learning together. Students can translanguage and use multi-languages where they can bring different languages in for small snippets of assignments. Very simple. You can have a class setting. And then from there, you can change the different languages. Another great example is Padlet. And I'm just going to quickly switch over to my classes. My students use Padlet for our virtual exchanges. And what they do is they post videos about themselves, and then their partners will introduce themselves. And what's nice is when they post the video, I ask them to speak in their native language, and then also speak in your partner's language. So I have videos of students speaking in Spanish from my partners, and my students will respond in English. And then I'll just switch over to the other screen where I have my students are actually posting in Spanish using translation software, and their partners are posting back in English. So being able to make that nice little transition where students are trying to speak in another language, even if it needs to be translated, and students are responding in another language, just brings that wonderful world together where students are sharing, they're experiencing different cultures, and they're using multiple languages. Again, it doesn't have to be high stakes. It could be very, very low stakes where you're just using basic technology.
Thanks, Nicole.